onefootflipper.
You know, I haven't mentioned GyroPack lately, and I don't know why, because they're who I get all my bubble mailers and my poly mailers from now. And yesterday, I got a package from somebody else, and it was in a GyroPack bubble mailer, which is excellent. You know why? Because that means their quality is so good, I know I can reuse that same bubble mailer again and not have a problem, which is awesome. You can get 10% off your order from GyroPack. Just look down in my description. Got a link there. Use coupon code ONEFOOT and you'll get 10% off. Hey, how's it going? Paige here, the One Foot Flipper. It's been a while. Did you miss me? I hope you did. I don't know what the subject for today's video is yet, so let's just start off with some sales. Because this is actually happening weeks in the past as to when you see it, because I'm going to have a real professional production schedule from now on. I sold for $6 plus tax Viet Cong Purple Haze. However, the customer who purchased this item was an interesting fellow, because this was a mistake listing. The title had a completely different game listed. Both games actually had the same value, so that wasn't it, but he wanted to make sure he got the game in the picture, not in the title. How did he find this in the first place? That's what I want to know. 6 plus ship. People do that with Pokemon cards too. Sold this Tie Plush tablet holder for $11.17. That probably came from the bins. Daughter probably found it. Here's something you don't want to pick up, a non-bolo Elf on the Shelf board game. This was in my store for 2 years, getting regular monthly markdowns, finally sold for $2.12. Had it gotten another markdown, it would have gotten to my minimum price. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to sit down. I am standing. I cannot stand on one leg that long. I need to build those muscles back up. Yeah, those of you who don't watch me enough, I only have one leg. I was balanced on one leg there. Sold a little baby Cabbage Patch in a basket, $7.76. Goodwill bin's fine. This weighs about 2 ounces, so I probably had 20 cents into it, if that. Buyer did send a message wanting to make sure it was in good condition, and it was. Weiss Schwartz Fairy Tale Playmat, $20.95. Somehow this never got listed. Back when I first bought playmats years ago and listed all of them, I found it in an audit of things. Found 2 of them actually. So still got another 20 bucks coming to me later. Whew. Now I'm getting out of breath from all the studio one leg. That's one of those. You've never been a big person or a person that's balanced on one leg. A lot of times the out of breath won't come until you're done with the activity, and then the body's like, oh, I can finally catch up breathing. Sold this Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader Era Keeper of Secrets. Sold for $68.45. It did sell via promoted listings, so about another $2 will go to eBay on that one. More than their usual cut. Sold 50-cent Bulletproof for the PlayStation 2, $25. Actually one of the better video games I've had in a while. Been getting more money for empty boxes than I have for actual games. This is a Games Workshop Space Hulk board game. This game is set in the Warhammer universe, but it does not use Warhammer rules. It has its own rules, but you still paint figures and all that. This is a first edition. It sold for $246.42. I had $100 into this. I believe I started it at $275, and it took a few markdowns before it finally sold. Probably had a 10% off offer too. Don't remember where this came from. Only figured it out by, sorting the pictures, by searching the pictures. Is a Chinese bronze jug wine vessel. $17.65. All right, that's all of them. Let's get on. Oh, no, we're not done yet. We just went over the things we sold, but now we're going to sell something. This is an original Xbox console. We're going to sell it right here in this video. I thought these were worth more than they actually are, so I paid Fox Hunter 20 bucks to test this because he plays Xbox all the time. He's got a whole system set up and everything. Well, I just have this spare console, although it does have the remote control add-on, although you'd actually have to find the remote. But anyway, he tested this, says it works perfectly. And since I'm already losing my butt on it since I paid him 20 bucks to test the thing, let's just sell this for $40 plus actual ship. If you want to buy it, get a hold of me on Instagram. Once this sells, I'm going to put at the top of the description down below, the Xbox is sold. That way you won't be wasting your time later. So as long as that sentence is not in down at the description, you can still buy this Xbox working for $40. All right, let's get to the next segment. All right, why don't we get into the topic, everybody? And today's topic is going to be those first eBay steps for absolutely new people. If that's not for you, you can skip forward to the timestamp I'll put on the screen here, and then you can watch the rest of the sales and skip this part. This is if you've just started or you're thinking about starting. Now, the first thing I want to go over is what eBay actually is today. There are a lot of misconceptions. eBay is not about auctions anymore. It stopped being on auctions about 15 years ago. eBay, which means you're going to be selling everything, at least at first on eBay, fixed price, buy it now, like a normal store. People are not going to be bidding on your items. eBay is not free. They charge for their services. This seems like it would make sense, but you'd have no idea how many people who believe eBay should be free or should have almost no cost to it. I remember my mother-in-law once asked me, does eBay charge for its services? And I checked my records and I'm like, I paid eBay $1,872 last month. She was like, oh. And mother-in-law, if you're watching this, not making fun of you, it's a common misconception. The fees may indeed seem significant if you've never sold anything online. Usually your eBay fees are going to run 13 to 15%. That's also going to include things like the shipping and the sales tax that the people pay and everything. And if you promote your items, it can go higher. And you absolutely don't want to start your eBay career selling anything expensive or valuable. Put that iPhone away. You're not selling that first. Now, we'll start with registration. Go ahead and register with eBay if you don't already have an account. Try not to pick a total garbage username. eBay might become a big part of your life someday, and you're going to want a username that's memorable and easy to type. You don't want to be LQ Fartboy 679. People aren't going to remember that, and it's not going to look professional. Not that it matters how much you look professional, because most things are going to sell on price and condition anyway, not on your username, but you never know. Now, here's the thing that's going to get some people. eBay's going to need some personal information with you. The law requires them to get this information. It's not just them being weird or greedy or just having to know about you. And there's no way around it. There's no way to avoid it. And this stops some people in their tracks. But y'all, you need to realize that the information they need from you is already in countless databases. And eBay has better security than most of those databases do. I'm in America, so I only know about America. In America, probably a common thought that Europeans have about Americans too, isn't it? But in America, you're probably going to need to provide your driver's license, social security card, and you're absolutely going to have to link a bank account to eBay, and that bank account's going to have to be in your name. Yes, eBay needs to have access to your bank account, both to pay you and for you to pay them. Because every once in a while you need to pay them. And usually you don't, but if you don't sell very much and you have an eBay store and it's right at the end of the month where the store fees come out, you might not have enough money in funds from your recent sales to pay your store fee. So they need access for that. But you know who else has access to your bank account? Literally every single person or business you ever wrote a check to or paid with a debit card. eBay having access to your bank account is not the life-shattering thing you made it out to be. PayPal had access to your bank account years ago before email did, if you had a PayPal. Now, it's going to take a few days for everything to verify, so just be calm about it. In that time, before you list your first items, you're going to have a couple things to start keeping track of. The first thing you're going to have to start keeping track of is your eBay-related expenses, because you will be required to fill out tax-related paperwork from eBay with your tax return if any significant amount of money flows through your account each year. Even if you're only selling your own personal items at a loss, you've still got to show that you didn't make any money. The dollar limit for this paperwork varies from state to state and has been changed several times in recent years, so just assume you're going to have to do it. A lot of people try to sell just below the limit or whatever else, but the fact is the IRS requires you to report this stuff whether or not eBay generates that paperwork. Now, I know reality. I know most of y'all don't. I never talked to a single reseller I knew in real life who filed that paperwork before they had to, but the law says you have to. You can use a paper notebook, a text file, spreadsheet on your computer, spreadsheet in somebody else's computer for that matter, a Google spreadsheet, or any other method you want to track this information. You're really just going to need 3 files. One for your cost of goods. You know, if you bought this miniature to sell it, you paid $5 for it, you put $5 in your cost of goods. One for other expenses, such as money you spend on wrapping paper, or tape, or eBay tools, things like that. And you're also going to keep track of any mileage that you drive for business. You're going to want to start tracking all this from day one to minimize any taxes you have to pay. You don't want to go back in time and try to figure it out and guess. I'll have another video about this later, but you might as well just start doing all this for day one. Oh, one quick thing. If you're selling an old personal item, the IRS has a few different ways to value that, but the simplest way is market value, and the simplest way to do that is just to list the price it's sold for as its cost, because that is a great way to determine market value. Other people will disagree with me, and I'm not an accountant, but everything I've read supports that. I'm at the level where most of the time I don't have many personal items left, and I don't really think all that hard. Usually I just let them flow through without keeping track of them anymore, at least their expense. But if all you're selling is personal items, you're going to want to keep track of it. Now, if you don't have 10 feedback already, you're going to want to go and get yourself 10 feedback. Go search out some 99-cent shipped trinkets from China. Buy yourself some 99-cent shipped baseball cards or Pokemon cards or something. And you want to make sure you're buying them from the people who leave feedback. So click through to the seller's feedback, and look for feedback left, and make sure that it's just a massive, huge number, much larger than the feedback they've received. That means that those people leave feedback every time. So you're going to want to buy just a few little trinkets and get that feedback up to 10. The reason why you're doing this is that people who try to scam eBay sellers, they target extremely low feedback sellers. You want to start out with at least that 10 next to your name to stay off the radar of those people. It's not worth it. Plus, you can get there are some cool little Chinese trinkets and tools you can get. You could probably find a couple of things you could even use for your eBay business. One thing I suggest, if you've got it, sometimes you can find a tape measure, like a 3-foot long ruler that's a sticker. I like to put those on the edge of packing tables, and sometimes you can find those for 99 cents shipped. And also, before you even sell, you're going to want to go into your eBay settings right now, and we're going to check on a certain shipping setting. You're going to want to find it via, you go to Site Preferences, Shipping Preferences, find yourself Shipping Discount Settings, and you want to make sure it's set to standard rates without discount. That means that, at least for right now, your buyers are going to be charged the normal retail postage price. Now, remember, instead of the discount price that you pay, that gives a cushion for you to have mistakes or to cover the fact that eBay does charge fees on shipping price. You may not want to do it that way forever long term, but that is the safe way, and that's what you're going to do from now. Now, the exact way to navigate to that link has changed several times over the years, but I'm just going to put a direct link down to it, in the top of the description, so you can just go directly to it by clicking on the link at the bottom of this video. All right, when you're finally ready to make that first listing, start off with a common item that's not particularly expensive. Don't start off selling your laptop or your iPhone. You know, maybe you got this old Warhammer figure sitting on the shelf. You're not going to use him anymore. Why don't you sell him? You know, he's pretty cool. He'll bring some money, but, you know, not enough that somebody's going to go out of their way to try to steal it from you. First, you search for the item that you want to sell. Switch those results to items sold, and find the one that's absolutely closest to your item in every detail. Go ahead and click through to that item and pick Have One to Sell, Sell Now. And you're going to want to pick a listing that would charge shipping because you're going to charge shipping. Free shipping is an expert tool. You may use it later, but you're not using it at the beginning, not when you don't know what you're doing. Too many people make mistakes and lose money using free shipping. Wait till you know what you're doing. This link should be located under the main photo if you're using a PC. If you're using the app, it's going to be hidden under about 9 pages of ads in the listing on the mobile app. I suggest do your listings on PC at first if you've got access to one. You can always switch to mobile later. I basically do everything on PC except for pulling orders, but different people do different things. So I'm not going to yell at you too hard if you're wanting to do it all on your phone. All right. Now, by picking a similar item to base your listing on, a lot of the work will already be done for you. At the top there, you're going to pick fixed price, buy it now. You're not doing auction format. Once again, auction format is an expert choice. It's almost always the wrong choice, mind you. I haven't sold anything on auction format in now 2 years. And in the last 10 years, I've only sold maybe a half dozen things on auction format. It's almost always the wrong choice. Okay, go ahead. You're going to take nice pictures of your item from every angle. Go ahead and upload them to the listing. You can probably use the exact same title that's already pre-filled in for you, unless something's wrong. If something's wrong, go ahead and change it. Like if you found, if you're selling this guy and you found the perfect listing for it, but he had a red paint job instead of this brown paint job, change it from red to brown. And you can look through, there'll be all these item specifics down there. Most of them will probably already be filled in right if you hit sell similar, but just look at them, make sure that they match up with the item that you've got. And you can fill in extra ones if you want to. Different people vary on how important they think that those specifics are. Item description. As far as the item description goes, all you really need to do is point out any flaws or hidden features that might not be evident from the photos. Most customers these days do not read the description. eBay goes out of their way to hide the description for some reason on their website and on the mobile platform. So it isn't as important as you'd think it would be. I have hundreds of items. The description says great item, you're going to love it, and that's all it says. I'll have an entire video on descriptions later, but just pointing out the flaws or hidden features is good enough for now. Next part, you're going to get down to the part where you're talking about your shipping. When it comes to the shipping section, you're going to select Calculated Ground Advantage Shipping. At this point, you're going to go ahead and place your little guy here that you're selling in a box. If you've already got packing material, go ahead and put them in packing material too, and weigh them. That way you can put in the right, both weight and dimensions. The dimensions are important, can be important because if you've got your wrong dimensions on, you can be buying your postage at the wrong rate or possibly charging your customers postage at the wrong rate, and thus you could lose money to it. So put the right dimensions in it in the first place. Later on, you're probably not going to stick things in boxes before you put them on the scale. You'll be able to estimate good enough, but at the beginning, we're going to do the whole thing so you know you're doing it right, not making mistakes. You'll probably do your pre-shipping completely different later, but this is what you're going to do until you get comfortable with it and until you watch my shipping rules video and you set those up. Oh, there's going to be something you see called promoted listings. That's an expert option. Skip past that entirely. Maybe you might want to do that later, but not until you know what you're doing. One of the biggest mistakes people make is hitting promoted listings before they know what they're doing and they're not understanding the consequences of it. Okay, now that you've got your item listed, we've got a few things to go over. You are not going to get your money from eBay instantly. It's going to be held for a while. It might be held for up to a month at first. This will change later as you sell more items. eBay puts money in our bank account every day now, but at the very... Actually, yeah. It pretty much always has been that way for me because I've had a very old account. My account goes back to before eBay handled the payments. But at the very beginning, they're not going to pay you immediately. Also, anybody who messages you wanting them to text them, call them, send them photos to an email address or anywhere else off-site, says anything about gift cards, wants to take the transaction off eBay, they are a scammer. I never encounter these people because I have a number next to my name that's in the thousands on both of my accounts. So those people are not targeting me, but they will target people with lower numbers next to their name. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get your item for free one way or another. What they'll probably do is generate a fake payment email or try to say they'll pay you extra to put gift cards in the order. If they mention gift cards, the order is completely about the gift cards and it's not about the item. They don't even care about the item. In fact, don't do anything on eBay based on emails. I made a separate email account for eBay, and all of my eBay emails go there, and I never check that account. I do everything from inside the eBay website or inside the eBay app. You don't need to do anything on eBay based on emails. That just leaves you open to making a wrong decision. Now, do not expect your item to sell right away. You may eventually have to lower your price or take a lower offer. That's all part of it. The average item on eBay takes a long time to sell. If it's not an in-demand item or an outrageously good price or whatever, it is not going to sell immediately. My average item, I believe, takes 4 or 5 months to sell. So it's not going to be instant unless you've just got the best thing at the best price. Now, once your item sells, you're going to ship it directly through the eBay website or app itself. They've got great discounted shipping rates. And if you put the right weight and dimensions in when you did the listing, then that part will already be filled in when you go to ship the item. There are other things you could do to make this more complicated, but for now, you're going to do it that way. We'll have a video about shipping later, and then we can go over other things you might want to do. But at the beginning, you just want to take the safe route. You might get a message after the sale asking you to change that shipping address. If you get that message, here's what you're going to do. First, you're going to check that the message even came from the same person who bought the item. Sometimes it won't. Some scammers, they will send that message to newer, more inexperienced sellers in the hopes that the seller will just say, oh, and they'll change the address and send that item off to somebody who didn't even buy it. Some people, enough people make that mistake that it's worth the time of the scammers to try it. Or a lot of times people just have moved since they used eBay last time, or they wanted to go to a different address. They don't understand that that's a big deal. It is a big deal because if you ship to an address other than the address on the order, eBay will not back you up for anything whatsoever. So if it is from the same person who bought the item, inform them, I'm unable to change the shipping address. I've canceled the order and refunded it. You may repurchase it once you cancel your address, once you correct your address. Then you cancel the order, citing problem with shipping address, which should be on the little options next to the drop. There'll be a drop-down box on the page of orders to go out, and you can pick the cancel from there. Problem with shipping address is what you want to pick. You do not want to pick any other reason. Then you go ahead and relist the item. If they are a legitimate customer who wasn't trying to pull anything, 95% of the time, they will just fix their address on their eBay account and they'll buy the item with the right address on it. Then go ahead, pack it up, drop it off at the post office, put it with your outgoing mail, whatever you're gonna choose to do. You've still got a full-time job, then it might just be good to send it out with your work email. That's what I always did when I worked full-time, and that worked out pretty good for me. All right, that's all I got about the absolute basics. Let's do a few more sales. All right, here's what else we sold. Looks like several items have sold since I sit down to start making videos, but I'm just not going to ship those today. I got a box of $893.94 Fleer Ultra basketball cards. Sold for $9.41. They started at 10. I believe it only took, and I believe they went through 2 markdowns because I marked down 3%. So they would have went to $9.70 to $9.40. What else we got here? We got a Vidya game, Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne, $8 plus shipping. Not bad. We got a couple of Hot Wheels. These have Star Wars guys on them, the artwork of Star Wars guys, and they're based off a bus, and it looks like a VW pickup truck. Sold for $9.41. Either my daughter or my wife spotted those in the bins. Sold a big old jumbo Quick Trip cup from the 90s. They don't seem to make the big jumbo cups like they did anymore. And a lot of your guys who work hard jobs and they have big pickup trucks with that bench seat, they want this Quick Trip cup because it'll sit right flat on that bench seat and it's not going to fall over. And it could be filled to the max. This sold for $23.61. That would have been $5.99 filled up at Quick Trip back in the day. Here's some weirdness. I sold 2 doors to the R Generation Jeep. Here's where the weirdness goes in. I picked these doors up at the Goodwill bins. They've been in my store for quite some time. I've actually got quantity on one of the doors. But let's turn around. You see that over there? On top of that TV set, that Lightning McQueen TV set, that is an our generation pink Jeep with no doors on it. And that was my daughter's. Where did her doors go? I have no idea. That thing surfaced in our house afterwards, and I never bothered to get the door listings together, put the doors on it, which is probably good since I got $13.28 for the doors, and those Jeeps only tend to sell for $15 to $18, either with or without the doors. I mean, it's been up for a while. Nobody's bought it. You want to go buy it? Game Genie. This, if you had a Nintendo back in the day, was the best thing in the world, because this had a code book that came with it. You don't need the code book today since you're looking over the internet, but they let you just change things in Nintendo games. Various cheats or codes that just would do weird things to the game. You could make your own codes up. Sometimes they'd do things. This sold for $14 plus shipping. All right. And like I got all this stuff on the rack here, I sold a Pokemon store totem display. This thing's really tall. I'm just gonna try and show it to you. Actually sold 2 of them. These stand up to be about 4 or 5 feet tall. I sold 2 identical ones to the same customer for $115 plus shipping. They are a repeat buyer, likely not a viewer. And I sold a vintage Barbie Swan Lake sleeping bag. It's already in this bag. It was hard enough to get in this bag, so I'm just going to put a picture up on the screen. If you know anybody who has a hard time putting things into bags, why don't you tell them about this channel? I could use the subs. And if you've made it this far and you're not subbed yet, why don't you go ahead and do that? That's what I'm in this for. Thanks. Hope to see you again soon.